Good evening. I am Laura Clark, and I will serve as moderator for this forum. The forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, and Rutherford County Office of Information Technology. It is my pleasure to welcome both our audience here at the County Courthouse and our viewers at home to our program tonight. We will hear remarks from the three candidates for Rutherford County Mayor. Before introducing the candidates, I would like to outline the procedure for the forum. Each candidate will be asked to make a 1-minute opening statement. When all candidates have completed their opening statement, the first of several questions will be asked. The candidates will respond to each question with a 1-minute response. I will begin by introducing the candidates. They are each seeking election to a position that is important to the citizens of Rutherford County. I want to thank them for their gracious acceptance of our invitation to participate in this event. Speaking first tonight is Heather Ann Brown. Ms. Brown, you may begin with your opening statement.
Well, my name is Heather Ann Brown. I'm a long-term resident of Rutherford County, and I'm grateful for the opportunity for anyone who's led the way for me to be able to even be up here to represent and be a candidate for county mayor. And I just hope that everybody takes me into consideration when they go to the voting polls. I hope this is one of the biggest voter turnouts that Rutherford County has ever seen. I hope that this is the first forum that I've actually been invited to, and so I definitely am thankful to anyone who has afforded me that opportunity. And like I said, I hope this is one of the biggest voter turnouts that we've ever had, because I believe that if we can educate people as to why they need to be voting, then we will have a bigger voter turnout. And I just hope to leave Rutherford County better than how I found it.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. And now, Mr. Ernest Burgess, you may begin with your opening statement.
Well, thank you very much, and I'd just like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for allowing this opportunity to share our thoughts with all of our citizens in Rutherford County. And first, I want to just thank all the citizens of Rutherford County of giving me the privilege and opportunity to serve as the county mayor for the past 8 years. And many of you know that we had a serious economic downturn in 2007 and 8. But we also know that any organization, any leader can only be you can determine their success by how they've overcome and they've addressed challenges. So even though we've had major downturn in opportunities and revenue with our development tax has decreased since I've been here about $26 million, we've still been able to do some really wonderful things and accomplish some great things. We've created more than 15,000 jobs in this county, and we're just proud of the teamwork that we've been able to bring together, all of the people and the leaders in our other municipalities.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. And now, Ms. Teresa St. Clair, you may begin with your opening statement.
My name is Teresa St. Clair, and I'm fairly new to Rutherford County. I moved here in 2010, and I am the COO and co-founder of Medibid. And I also have an insurance brokerage. So my forte is in healthcare financing. And my job is to help people get what they need at a price they can afford. I moved to Rutherford County because I had an opportunity to visit and realized that Nashville just wasn't as comfortable as Rutherford County is. And I really wanted to live in a place that was more quiet. And so I am here today because I see things that can be improved on in Rutherford. And I really appreciate the opportunity that you've given us.
Thank you, Ms. St. Clair. And so now we will go to our first question tonight. And Mr. Burgess, will begin with you. And the first question is, what do you feel is the #1 issue facing Rutherford County in the next 5 years? And how would you address that issue?
Well, I think the #1 question and issue that's facing us is how are we going to maintain the wonderful quality of life that we have here with the growth that we know is going to continue to occur. We know that Rutherford County, we were at 262,000 in 2010, and the numbers now reflect about 282,000. So it's not if we're going to continue to grow, but how are we going to manage this growth, and how are we going to provide the quality of life, maintain that we currently have. We've been ranked in the top 10 in the nation for job growth for 10 consecutive quarters. And so this is important that we do this, and we must maintain, I think, our ability to provide resources for education and public safety. Those are the two things that's really driving our quality of life.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Ms. St. Clair, what do you feel is the number one issue facing Rutherford County in the next 5 years, and how would you address that issue?
Well, as we know, growth is the number one issue, and I think we're really very fortunate to have this kind of growth, but along with that, as we know, we've heard the mayor say we need the infrastructure. Right now, what I see is that we're going to need the schools, the roads, healthcare facilities, and all of the other infrastructure needs that come with growth, and that includes our waste disposal. And that's also another big issue here, is how do we handle the garbage disposal, and what can we do to make that environmentally friendly? And I've done it. My own personal experience as an investigator, I have looked into various methods of accommodating garbage disposal. So those are the big issues here.
Thank you, Ms. St. Clair. And Ms. Brown, what do you feel is the number one issue facing Rutherford County in the next 5 years, and how would you address this issue?
I know that the number one issue facing Rutherford County in the next 5 years is the rate of the population coming in regards to the growth that we're having. And we need to have a better working relationship with our water department. We need to definitely think about our resources in regards to the growth, and we need to make sure we have responsible, well thought out growth in regards to that. I believe, well, I know that the number one issue on top of that and in regards to that is the fact that we do not have a contract with the Corps of Engineers for our water regarding Percy Priest Lake, which that leaves us with Stones River. And when you're talking about growth and that amount of people, we've got to ensure our resources and the quality of our resources. That is our number one issue.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. And now, Ms. St. Clair, to the next question. Ms. St. Clair, how do you determine priorities when achieving all goals is not possible?
Priorities are established according to the downline effect that they have on the taxpayers. A project might have a budget of $200,000, but the implementation and ongoing costs may not make it that much of a benefit, especially if it's going to continue to cost taxpayers. So you pick the project that will take the least amount of time and money, and you will have the greatest benefit to the taxpayers without costing them a lot. So you have to prioritize according to the cost-benefit analysis. And it's in the long run, what's it going to cost the taxpayers?
Thank you, Ms. St. Clair. Ms. Brown, how do you determine priorities when achieving all goals is not possible?
Well, I would do this like I approach everything, and if we don't set goals, we never achieve anything. So if you set high goals, then you're going to if you get close to that, you've done well because you've done something. And you definitely have to set priorities, and the only way to set those priorities is to, instead of telling the citizens how you're going to set those priorities and how you're going to spend you want to listen to the people and let them tell you what their priorities are, what's important to them, and then you think about how the county's run and what they've told you and what's important to them and the problems that you see, and then you set that priority accordingly. And especially, I'm going to go back again to resources. If you do not have proper and adequate resources to serve the people and the growth and manufacturing, bringing jobs in, then you're not going to achieve any goals. So,
thank you, Ms. Brown. And Mr. Burgess, how do you determine priorities when achieving all goals is not possible?
Well, we've already said you have to set priorities, but I think the two top priorities is safety and education, and they have to be at the very top, I think, of what we're trying to do. Security, both physically and financially, is critical for the prosperity of our citizens. So our priorities have to match the needs of our citizens, and we have to carefully and thoughtfully try to be diligent in providing those things for them in a way of safety and education so that we can give them every opportunity to use every ability that they've been given to do their very best to prosper and thrive and provide for themselves and their families.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. And now to the next question. And Ms. Brown, I'll ask that you respond first. Ms. Brown, how would you balance expectations of constituents with budget constraints?
I love this question. I thought it was a very interesting question, and it says, how am I going to balance the expectations of constituents with budget constraints? And I know that a mayoral position is not a high-wire circus act, and so I don't plan on balancing a high-wire expectation of constituents when I feel that the constituents should definitely balance their expectations. Are they reasonable? Are they in regards to the people? And they need to understand the budget constraints when they set their expectations.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Burgess, how do you balance expectations of constituents with budget constraints?
Well, first of all, we balance the budget to the best of our ability with minimizing the tax burden that we place on our citizens. We have to evaluate, as we've already said, our priorities and our needs. We have to use the same approach that every one of our citizens and families out there is using when they address their particular budget constraints. So it's important that we look first at the basic necessities, and I've already mentioned those, I think, somewhat as far as security and safety and educational and providing opportunity. And when we do just that, we will improve the opportunities for our people to really thrive and prosper, and that's really what we have to do. Just sit down like anyone does in their family now, even every day, trying to budget and manage those precious resources they have.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Ms. St. Clair, how do you balance expectations? How would you balance expectations of constituents with budget constraints?
Constituents' concerns are mostly with their own finances, and the mayor's job is to make sure that we're not paying too much and guard against fraud, waste, and abuse. Telling taxpayers that we owe more to an already bloated government doesn't sit well with them. And if a citizen discovers fraud, waste, and abuse, it's the mayor's job to listen and act on valid concerns, not hide and kick the can down the road.
Thank you, Ms. St. Clair. Now we will go to the fourth question. Mr. Burgess, I'll ask for you to respond first. What would be your measure of success in the office of Mayor of Rutherford County? Your measure of success.
My measure of success would be just this. If when I finish this next term, which I'm hopeful I'll have an opportunity to serve, that when I'm finished, they can look back and say he served as a servant. Servant leadership would be something that they would say I have accomplished, and that I have provided stability, safety, prosperity, and opportunity for each citizen in this county, and that I have treated every person with dignity, respect, empathy, and equality, that every decision I make has been made based on upholding the highest moral standards possible, and I'm doing everything just because it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Ms. St. Clair, what would be your measure of success in the office of Mayor of Rutherford County?
My measure of success would be the way the people respond when it's time for me to leave. And if I'm not looking for more than one term, so if they like what I've done, they will learn from me and will want to continue on the same path in the same way. If they don't, I expect they'll tell me they're happy I'm leaving.
Thank you, Ms. St. Clair. Ms. Brown, what would be your measure of success in the office of Mayor of Rutherford County?
My measure of success is going to be, as I stated earlier, I am going to leave Rutherford County in a better place than when I found it. And I want Rutherford County to be an example of leadership for other counties and other places in the U.S., for societies who have lost their way and have mismanaged money at the expense of people and their livelihood and their families. And when I leave the office, I want everybody to say that she afforded me the opportunity to spend more time with my family and not having to work 2 jobs, because she went to every department that she oversaw and she ensured that they were managing their money that they were given appropriately. And that'll be my measure of success.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. And now we'll go to Ms. St. Clair with the next question. Ms. St. Clair, at a more specific level, what are some changes that would improve Rutherford County, and how would you help implement those changes?
Well, the first thing that I would like to change is the way that we handle the employee benefits plan, and I would ask for an investigation into the claims. Right now, from what I found, there is a great deal of money that's being overcharged the taxpayers. So that's the very first thing I would do, is implement changes and the structure in the employee benefits plan. And I would also put a stop to the biometric testing that's going on, because at this point, to me, from what I'm seeing, it's being handled incorrectly. Additionally, I'd like to, as I said, I'd like to look into doing a better job with our landfill and garbage disposal. So those are the top 3 things that I'd like to do.
Thank you, Ms. St. Clair. Ms. Brown, what are some changes that would improve Rutherford County, and how would you help implement those changes?
One change that's very important to me is, again, I cannot stress enough, our water supply. We need to step back and we need to take a deep breath. We need to reassess the growth. Is it responsible growth? Is it appropriate for each and every citizen? We need to ensure that we have a contract on our water supply. If we cannot ensure that, then it falls back on Stones River, and then we're going to have to look at the landfill situation. And also, changes that I would like to see is the basic things that people need to know they learn in their school system. And when they become adults, if we haven't taught them the proper ways to respect their resources and spend their money wisely, then it's not going to follow them into adulthood. So that's a few things. I could stand here all night and talk about a lot of things, but that's a few.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Burgess, what are some changes that would improve Rutherford County, and how would you implement those changes?
Well, there are any number of things that we'd all like to improve and change. We'd like to improve the graduation rate for our high school students. I mean, this is so critical. And those people that don't have the proper education, we know where they're ending up, and it's certainly a very difficult situation for them and for all of society. We have to find a way to prevent a lot of these folks from going to jail that are going there for the wrong reasons. So I want to find some way to help continue to get people the proper training and the proper skills so that they can be equipped to be effective citizens in this county and in this country. Otherwise, we're going to continue down a slope that's not very productive for any of us. And yes, as we know, we all need to be more proactive in a lot of things. Recycling is the first step. And the second step would be to find some energy efficient and environmentally friendly ways to dispose of waste. That is critically important.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. And now to our last question tonight. And please remember, you may make your closing statement in your response to this question. And so our last question tonight, Ms. Brown, what is your vision for Rutherford County in 10 years?
My vision for Rutherford County in 10 years is to ensure that we have taken a step back. We are a great county. Mr. Burgess has done a great job, and we need to look at our resources, the rate of growth, what we are building. I want to see responsible growth in building. I want a better working relationship with our water and waste department. I would like to see our education system be a system that complements each and every child, because we all learn in different ways, and to set a core standard is a detriment to every child to becoming who they need to be and what they're supposed to be. I would also like to see, and this is very important to me because of a situation that I've personally had to deal with today, and that is we are flooded by chemicals and in regards to health, and opiates is a very big problem for a lot of areas. And
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Thank you very much. And Mr. Burgess, what is your vision for Rutherford County in 10 years?
Well, in 10 years, I think it's pretty safe to say that we're going to be the fourth largest county in Tennessee. We're going to pass Hamilton County. And I think with all of that growth continuing to happen, we must find a way to continue teamwork and cooperation within all of our municipalities and with all of our elected officials and all of our employees that we have in every location here in Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, and Eagleville, et cetera. All of that to say, Rutherford County is already a great, great county, but it's because we all work together. Our business community, we have a tremendously outstanding workforce. We've got great employees in our government organizations. We have tremendously wonderful charitable and nonprofit organizations, beautiful education system. Teamwork and cooperation is something we must continue to focus on. That is what makes this county great. It will continue to make this county great, and its quality of life will continue to attract businesses and expand and provide really
Thank you, Mr. Burgess.
good jobs.
Thank you. And Ms. St. Clair, what is your vision for Rutherford County in 10 years?
Rutherford County's trademark is its pastoral character. I'd like to preserve that and encourage more independently owned businesses to add to the uniqueness of the county. And when I look around and see a lot of corporate stores, that's an indication of a restricted economy. The permits that cost too much and are too overbearing for the independents to tolerate in a startup phase, we need to pay more attention to enhancing rather than restricting and punishing those who want to invest in Rutherford County. So one of the things I'd like to do is educate our medical community here on a free market medical practice, and that people can have alternatives to feeling trapped by the restrictions of government-run medicine. So that's what I do for a living, and I'd like to see that happen in Rutherford County.
Thank you, Ms. St. Clair. We've reached the end of our questions for this evening. Once again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters and Rutherford County, I want to thank all of the candidates for your participation today. I also want to recognize Brian Robertson, Director of the Rutherford County Office of Information Technology, and Lee Harris, Communications Manager, for their cooperation in presenting this program on Governmental Channel 19 and making it available on the county website. I want to encourage all Rutherford County citizens to vote. Early voting begins July 18th through August 2nd. And Election Day is Thursday, August 7th. Please exercise this important right to determine who represents you on county matters. And tonight, now, may we close with a round of applause for the candidates.